My mom was found by my dad, who had just been released from prison, and she begged me for help right as a tornado was making landfall. The entire city was locked down, with everyone staying indoors. I didn't know how to drive, so I called Ryan, asking him to take me to my mom, but he kept rejecting my calls, ignoring my messages, only replying that he was working overtime, with no one responding to the emergency. I listened helplessly over the phone as my mom's cries faded into silence. That night, clutching my pregnant belly, I walked 2 hours on foot, only to find my mother's cold, lifeless body. The next day, Ryan finally returned my call, his tone impatient. "Jessica, why did you call me a dozen times? I was working overtime." I heard the faint sound of a girl laughing in the background, and my voice trembled as I asked, "Ryan, you promised that my mom would be your mom too, and that you'd take care of both of us." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line before Ryan coldly replied, "Jessica, are you a parasite?" Chapter 1. After drafting the divorce agreement, I sent the document to Ryan. "If there's anything you don't agree with, make your changes and send it directly to my lawyer." After saying that, I immediately blocked him. I had chased Ryan for 4 years. Everyone knew that there was a simp at South University who was hopelessly in love with Ryan. After we graduated, Ryan finally agreed to be with me. Maybe it was because I had worked so hard to win him over. I was always careful in our relationship, never once throwing a tantrum, and I agreed to all his demands. I thought that if I did this, he might love me more. I learned to go to the hospital by myself, even when my fever spiked to 40 degrees. The taxi driver was afraid I might be too delirious to know where I was going, but Ryan just told me to stop being dramatic over a minor illness. I learned to put myself second to Ryan, always putting his needs first. No matter how much pain or despair I felt, I prioritized his emotions, never daring to burden him with my negative feelings. I thought that this would make him cherish me, especially since he once held me close and promised to take care of me and my mom. But in the end, he called me a parasite, saying I didn't even qualify as a simp. After my dad murdered someone and disappeared, I called the police and had my mom's body cremated, starting to make arrangements for her funeral. It wasn't until the tall, strong woman who had always protected me was reduced to a small urn of ashes in my hands that I realized I had truly lost my mother. After settling my mom's affairs, the police called, saying they had narrowed down the search area but needed more time to capture him and asked me to be patient. After hanging up, I stayed at the cemetery for a long time. By the time I left, it was already dark. I didn't go back to Ryan's place but returned to my mom's home instead. I had already cleaned up the place. Everything felt just as it had when she was alive. As soon as I stepped inside, the doorbell rang. It was Ryan, and Elena was with him. "Jessica, I didn't know you'd learned to play the block and delete game." He stopped short when he saw my swollen eyes. "Is your mom okay? Is she home?" His brow furrowed involuntarily, and he started to step inside, but I blocked him. "Ryan, I've already sent you the divorce papers. If you're okay with everything, let's finalize the divorce tomorrow." I looked up at him calmly. Ryan was momentarily stunned, but Elena, standing behind him, spoke up first. "Sorry, sis. I accidentally twisted my ankle last night, and Ryan insisted on taking me to the hospital. That's why we were delayed." "Don't be mad." Her words were an apology, but the look she gave me was filled with undisguised provocation. I nodded, too exhausted to even make a sarcastic comment. Ryan hesitated, but seeing how clearly tired I was, he softened a bit. "All right. I know I shouldn't have ignored you yesterday, but nothing happened, right? Your mom went out to buy groceries, didn't she? Look, no man would really hurt his wife, especially not one who's been reformed in prison." I hadn't intended to argue with him, but when I heard those words, my whole body stiffened. I turned to him in disbelief, my eyes full of disappointment. "Ryan, do you remember what you said when you married me? You said my dad was a worthless, abusive man who deserved to be in prison. You promised you would take care of my mom and me. You've done nothing for 3 years, and now you dare to stand on that monster's side and speak for him?" Chapter 2. For the first time, I, who usually kept my emotions in check, Curse it out loud. Ryan frowned in displeasure but, seeing that I was on the brink of a breakdown, swallowed the words he had been about to say. Elena, however, jumped in, indignantly. Sis, how can you say that? He's your biological father. No matter how bad he is, you should learn to be grateful. Ryan, how do you put up with her? Just hearing this makes my skin crawl. It's so disgusting. Ryan remained silent, and the anger that had been boiling within me began to cool. Forget it. There's no point in talking to people like this. I raised my hand to close the door, but Ryan blocked it. He pressed firmly against the door frame, looking at me with growing impatience. Jessica, enough with the drama. Come home. I don't have time to argue over pointless things. No time to argue with me. No time to help save my mom, but plenty of time to take Elena to the hospital for a twisted ankle. I didn't say a word, but I continued to try to close the door. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Ryan's expression turned cold. What do you want? I've already apologized. Since when did you become so unreasonable? Fine. I'll have bodyguards posted 24/7 to protect your mom, to monitor your dad. Will that make you happy? I couldn't help but laugh. I looked up at him and spoke calmly. Ryan, I'm exhausted. I'm not being unreasonable. We're over. We've been over since last night. Ryan saw that I was serious, and as his hand loosened, I shut the door, ignoring the relentless knocking. I locked the door and went to my mom's room. The bedroom door wasn't fully closed, so I could still hear Ryan outside. I heard him calling his assistant, instructing them to hire bodyguards to monitor my dad and to watch over my mom. But Ryan, it's all too late now. Chapter 3. Ryan was always concerned about his image, so after I shut him out that day, he never contacted me again. I finally had some peace, but the divorce papers from Ryan still hadn't arrived. I asked my lawyer to draft the agreement and sent it to him. His assistant called me, sounding anxious. Madam, the boss threw a fit and tore up the divorce papers you sent him. Would you like to come and calm him down? I can arrange a car for you. After 3 years of marriage, the assistant was well aware of the dynamics between Ryan and me. Whenever Ryan lost his temper over something, the assistant would call me to come and soothe him. But this time, I calmly declined the offer and hung up, ignoring the surprise in the assistant's voice. After filing for divorce with my lawyer's help, I took a taxi to the hospital. I didn't want this baby. I couldn't provide him with a happy home, nor did I have the energy to care for a child. The best thing for him was to be reborn into a happier family. In the office, the doctor frowned as she looked at me. Did you come alone? Where's your husband? I forced a bitter smile and shook my head. We're divorced. The doctor sighed, muttering about how irresponsible men were nowadays as she filled out the paperwork for the procedure. Since the baby was still small, she recommended a medical abortion. I lay on the hospital bed, feeling the cramps in my abdomen, my body drenched in cold sweat. Nausea rose up in my throat, and I staggered to the toilet, vomiting until tears streamed down my face. The doctor suggested that I walk around to help the process along. I endured the pain, gripping the wall in the hallway as I took one agonizing step after another, my entire body numb as if I might faint at any moment. Finally, while in the bathroom, I saw a blurry, flesh-like shape in the toilet, and my tears fell instantly. I knew this was my child. I had once imagined his personality, his appearance, and fantasized about the day he would stumble towards me, calling me Mom. As I opened the bathroom door, my vision blurred for a moment. Ryan was standing right in front of me, radiating a cold, angry energy as he glared at me. Jessica, you've got some nerve. Deciding to abort our child without my consent? Are you out of your mind? How could you do something like this? His aggressive questioning didn't stir much sadness in me. Seeing his face grow darker only gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. I turned and pointed to the flesh-like mass still in the toilet, smiling faintly. Your child? Want to see? It's right here. His gaze followed the direction of my finger, and in the next second, he turned back to look at me. Jessica, are you out of your mind? Before I could respond, my vision blurred, and I fainted. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed. Even before I opened my eyes, I could hear the doctor's instructions. The patient is very weak. To ensure everything is expelled properly, she needs to take her medication and rest. If there are any complications, a DC procedure might be necessary. Please remember to bring her back for a follow-up in a week. Ryan responded with a low okay. And to my surprise, I could hear a trace of choking in his voice. Just as I was about to open my eyes, I heard Elena trying to comfort him. Ryan, don't be too upset. Someone like her wouldn't have taken good care of the child anyway. The baby would have suffered, and she doesn't deserve to carry your child. The next moment, there was a sharp sound of a slap. Shut up. My wife doesn't need you to say anything. I opened my eyes to see Ryan angrily scolding Elena, who was clutching her face in disbelief. Ryan, you actually hit me? I coughed lightly, interrupting their exchange. Ryan immediately turned to look at me, his expression a mix of worry and anger, torn between emotions. Jesse, why did you have to go to such extremes? Even if we have children in the future, you shouldn't have risked this child and your own health out of spite. Enough is enough, you know? I forced a weak smile and looked at him, shaking my head. My voice was hoarse and frail. Ryan, we won't be having any more children. Please, just let me go. Chapter 4. I first met Ryan in high school. During those early, formative years, my grades were excellent, always securing the top spot in our year, while Ryan was the one whose parents had paid to get him into the school despite being at the bottom of the class. We were from completely different worlds, yet the teacher decided to seat us together, under the guise of tutoring. In reality, it was Ryan who had asked the teacher to switch our seats. I later found out that he and his friends had made a bet whether a girl like me, who was only interested in studying, would ever fall in love. When I learned about it, I immediately distanced myself from him. No matter how nice he was to me, or what expensive gifts he tried to buy me, I remained unmoved. Ryan, however, seemed to take it seriously after a while and started studying hard, just to be able to discuss problems with me. Through others, I came to understand that love was supposed to be about mutual respect and caring for each other. That's when I realized that my father's abuse of my mother was wrong, and I even tried to persuade her to divorce him. After my constant urging and as my father's abuse grew more frequent, my mother finally filed for divorce. I still remember that day. The weather forecast predicted a storm, and school let us out early so we could get home before it hit. Ryan packed all his homework into his bag and insisted on coming over to my place to study. Even though I had turned him down countless times before, he still made the same request every day, thinking that it was still early and my father was probably out drinking. I agreed, but as soon as we got close to my house, I could sense something was off. From inside, I could hear faint crying and the sound of things breaking. Almost instinctively, I blocked the door and forced a casual smile. Not today. Maybe another time. Ryan didn't hear the commotion inside and looked puzzled. Why not? We're already here. Let's study for a bit before I leave. I shook my head and was about to say something when the door suddenly flew open from behind me. I fell backward, but Ryan quickly grabbed my hand and steadied me. The strong smell of alcohol and smoke hit me, making my hair stand on end. You little bitch. Don't you have any shame? You're already out here flirting with men at such a young age. Just like your mother. Huh? He yanked my ponytail, forcing me closer to him, and raised his hand to slap me. Instinctively, I bent over and covered my face, enduring the pain in my scalp as I shouted, "I didn't!" My mother stumbled out of the house, and through the gaps between my fingers, I could see her. Her face was covered in blood, her eyes were bruised and swollen, and her clothes were torn and tattered. Limping, she rushed towards me. "Don't hit Jesse!" My father ignored her, and just as his hand was about to strike, Ryan kicked him. Damn it! Caught off guard, my father doubled over in pain, clutching his groin, his eyes glaring at Ryan with rage. "Who the hell are you? How I discipline my kid is none of your damn business." Ryan pulled me behind him, shielding me, and sneered at the man before us. "You call yourself a man? You think you deserve a family?" Ryan's words infuriated my father, and he lunged at him, ready to fight. But before anything could happen, the sound of police sirens filled the air. and my father was taken away. As he was let off, he spat at us, cursing that we'd regret it, swearing revenge, but he never came back. I later found out that Ryan had used his connections to dig up evidence of my father's crimes, and my father was sentenced to several years in prison. That day, Ryan cleaned up the wreckage of my home until it was spotless. Then he crouched down in front of me, his gaze sincere and serious. "Jessica, let's work hard and get into college together. I'll take care of you and your mom." That kind of man doesn't deserve to be called a husband or father. Just think of it as a dog bite, and don't let it keep you in the shadows forever. I wonder if Ryan still remembers the words that teenage boy once said. Chapter 5. Ryan's college entrance exam results were not ideal, but at least he got into a university. At that time, to be with Ryan, I believed in his promises and gave up my own future to attend the same university as him. But no one could have predicted that the Ryan who once passionately discussed our future and dreams with me would become a completely different person once we entered college. We didn't end up together as I had hoped. Instead, we grew further apart. He started avoiding me, rejecting my invitations, and didn't even want to see me. At that time, I simply thought he no longer liked me. But that was okay, I could still pursue him. And so began my 4 years as a simp. None of our college classmates knew about what happened in high school, so everyone assumed I was just hopelessly in love with Ryan. Ryan didn't explain, and neither did I. I thought that as long as the ending was good, the process didn't matter. At our college graduation, I confessed my feelings to him one last time. Ryan looked slightly annoyed but still took my flowers with a faint smile. "Jessica, I didn't expect you to be so persistent." "Fine, I'll give you a chance." We got married right after graduation, and now, here we are. It's not that there weren't moments of affection, they were just very few. Only when he was drunk and on top of me would I hear him say, "I love you." He said that as long as I was obedient and sensible, he would always love me. I took those words to heart, making them a part of who I am. In our 3 years of marriage, I never once resisted him. I followed his every word. But this time, I'm truly exhausted. I never expected that the words that once saved me would turn into the blade that wounded me so deeply. I have no energy left, and I no longer want to hold on. In truth, this relationship should have ended long ago, shouldn't it? Chapter 6. Because of my weakened state, I stayed in the hospital for a week. Ryan seemed genuinely remorseful this time. He ignored my requests for a divorce and devoted himself to taking care of me. Even when I refused to talk to him, he stayed by my bedside, talking non-stop. He talked about everything, from high school to college to where we were now. But in all his words, there wasn't a single apology. He still didn't believe he had done anything wrong. He just couldn't accept that I truly wanted to leave him and thought I was just throwing a tantrum. I said nothing, just focused on recovering my strength. On the day I was discharged, Ryan received a phone call and stepped out. Before he left, he reminded me to wait for him. He would come back soon to take me home. Given my fragile state, I agreed, but I waited from morning until nightfall. It wasn't until a nurse came to remind me that I could be discharged and gently hinted that I was occupying a bed that I finally packed my things and left the hospital. Ryan, just like that night, didn't answer any of my calls. He sent a text saying he was busy and told me to take a taxi home. He'd be there soon. Despite being utterly disappointed, I still couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness at his sudden change in attitude. By the time I returned to my mother's house, it was already the middle of the night. I lay in bed, flipping through my mother's diary, unable to stop the tears from falling. My phone rang. It was Ryan. But when I answered, it wasn't Ryan's voice that came through. It sounded like the call had been answered by mistake, the voices fading in and out. But I could still hear the clinking of glasses in the background. And then, I heard a familiar voice. "Ryan, thank you for spending my birthday with me. Are you sure everything's okay with your wife? She's already asked for a divorce. If you don't make it up to her, she might really leave you." She sounded as if she was concerned about Ryan, but her voice was filled with glee. Ryan remained silent, not responding. I clutched my phone tightly and moved it away from my ear. Just before I hung up, I heard Ryan's reply. His voice was casual, completely different from the concerned tone he used in the hospital. She's not going to divorce me. She can't survive without me. Being by her bedside was just giving her an out. We've been married for 3 years, and she's never caused a fuss before. This time, she's making a big deal out of it just to get my attention. It'll blow over soon enough. It gets boring if she drags it out. I hung up and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling as tears silently rolled down my cheeks. Yes, in everyone's eyes, I couldn't survive without Ryan. After all, since marrying him, I had distanced myself from my career and devoted all my energy to him. But a person's independence starts with their mind. Ryan, this time I really won't forgive you. Chapter 7. The police called while I was working at a convenience store. They told me the criminal had been captured, confessed to everything, and requested to see me one last time before going to prison. They asked if I wanted to meet him. My hand shook, and the Odin I was holding fell to the floor. Let's meet. My father sat across from me, his face covered in stubble, his eyes sunken, and he looked utterly worn out. I stared at the man who had ruined my life, feeling an overwhelming surge of hatred. This man had destroyed my childhood, ruined my mother's life, and warped my understanding of love. I wished he would just die. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, my father suddenly laughed. You're not doing well, are you? Where's that boy from before? He's left you, hasn't he? You'll end up just like your mother. No matter what I did, she didn't dare to divorce me because she couldn't survive without me. As I listened to his harsh words, I found myself becoming strangely calm. So, Ryan and this man in front of me were the same kind of man, but I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I shook my head, my voice calm and cold. I came here to tell you that you're a beast, unworthy of being called human. You destroyed my childhood, but I won't let anyone like you ruin the rest of my life. As for your remaining years, spend them in prison. Don't die, dear father, or you won't get to see how well your hated daughter lives. Without waiting for his curses, I turned and walked away without looking back. I could feel his gaze burning into me as I left. But what did that matter? The more they doubted me, the more certain I was that I had made the right choice. Chapter 8. While working at the convenience store, I met a man who was dressed modestly. He extended an olive branch to me, inviting me to become a model. He mentioned that the pay might be low initially, but it would improve over time. After careful consideration and researching the company to ensure its credibility, I agreed. That very night, my agent took me to shoot my portfolio. To my surprise, once the photos were released, they quickly gained attention online. People praised my looks and figure, though they noted that I still needed to work on my posture. I dove headfirst into the modeling industry and began my journey of hard work, but I never expected to run into Ryan at a modeling competition. He was seated in the VIP section of the audience, with Elena by his side. The moment I stepped onto the stage, I saw him, along with the amazement in his eyes and the jealousy in Elena's. Ryan had tried to contact me during this time, scoffing when he found out I was working at a convenience store. He was convinced that I wouldn't last long and would come crawling back to him, leaving me to struggle on my own. But he never imagined I would transform into someone he didn't recognize. In fact, I had done modeling work on the side during school, but Ryan never knew. I won the competition, and soon enough, I was trending all over social media. As I headed backstage to change, I found Ryan leaning against the dressing room door, waiting for me. Didn't expect you to have this much potential. Want me to help you out? When I ignored him, Ryan stepped forward, attempting to wrap his arm around my waist. I took a step back, putting distance between us, and coldly said, "You've received the divorce papers, right? The court date is in a few days, and yet you have the time to flirt with your soon-to-be ex-wife?" Ryan froze, clearly unaware of the divorce proceedings. It wasn't hard to guess that Elena had intercepted the papers. She likely hoped that Ryan, being unprepared, would lose the case, making it easier for her to take my place. Realizing this, Ryan pulled out his phone to confirm with his assistant, then looked at me in disbelief. "Jessica, you really want a divorce? Why?" When he asked why, all I could do was laugh. "Didn't your bodyguard tell you why?" "Oh, so you didn't actually send any bodyguard to protect my mom, did you?" Seeing him avoid my gaze, I was more certain of my suspicions. I nodded, speaking in a calm tone as if I were simply recounting what I had for lunch today. My mom died that night when you took Elena to the hospital instead of coming for me. She was beaten to death by my dad, the same man you said was reformed after his time in prison. He froze, seemingly unable to comprehend how things had escalated to this point. He stammered, "No, Jesse, that night, it wasn't." Listening to his incoherent words, I just felt irritated. I waved my hand dismissively. "Enough. Let's just end this. If you don't want a court battle, go home and sign the divorce papers. Let's part on good terms." After speaking, I had no interest in changing my clothes and was about to leave with my things. But I unexpectedly ran into Elena, who had been eavesdropping outside the door. "Sister, I didn't expect you to become a model so quickly. Whose bed did you climb into to rise so fast?" Before she could finish, Ryan slapped her hard across the face. "Who gave you the right to speak to Jessica like that? Wasn't it because you climbed into my bed that you're even here?" Ryan's harsh words hurt more than that slap, and Elena's eyes instantly filled with tears. I raised an eyebrow and looked at Ryan, surprised by his sudden self-awareness. Just as I was about to leave, Ryan grabbed my sleeve. "Jessica, I'm done with Elena. Come back home, okay? Let's not get a divorce, please?" Hearing the almost pleading tone in his voice, I turned to him, tilting my head with a light smile. "If your mother had died because I was too busy with an affair to help her, would you forgive me?" Chapter 9. The day before the court case. The divorce agreement arrived in my hands. Ryan had modified the terms, giving me 70% of the assets. I don't know what his intentions were, perhaps regret or an attempt to win me back, but I was entitled to that money, so I signed the papers without hesitation. As my schedule became increasingly packed, I found less time to grieve. The pain of losing my mother gradually began to heal, and as for Ryan, thinking of him now barely stirred any emotion in me. Time is cruel in that way. It can make you fall in love with someone quickly, but it can also slowly help you forget them. The next time I saw Ryan was 6 months later, after I had once again achieved a significant success, causing a stir online. My name and Ryan's name were suddenly linked together. Someone had dug into our past relationship and twisted the facts, claiming I pursued Ryan for 4 years just for money, that he launched my modeling career, only to be discarded by me afterward. They even exposed my miscarriage, posting a photo of me lying on a hospital bed with my eyes closed. The only people who knew about my miscarriage were Ryan and Elena. On that day, reporters gathered outside my hotel, waiting for me to come out. I was informed ahead of time by my manager, so I stayed hidden in my room, not daring to step outside. The company advised me to remain silent, and I agreed. Sitting in the hotel room, I watched as the scandal gained momentum online, with comments piling up, some even calling for my career to be ruined. I didn't understand, before being a model, I'm a person. Isn't having a miscarriage perfectly normal? After much thought, I sent Ryan a message. "Was it you?" Within a minute, Ryan called me back. He sounded both frustrated and angry. "Jessica, how could you think that of me? Why would I want to ruin your reputation? You used to trust me. You know I only want what's best for you." Listening to his anxious tone, I felt surprisingly calm. "But Ryan, as you said, that was in the past. 7 years ago. You've changed since then, and I was just asking, not accusing you." Ryan fell silent, and after a while, he sighed. "I'll take care of it. Don't worry." After hanging up, Ryan's statement became the #1 trending topic that very night. Ryan had set up a social media account and posted his first content. "I'm the Ryan trending online." There's a mix of truth and lies being spread. But first of all, it's true that Jessica and I were married. The real reason for our separation is that I cheated on her, and she was utterly disappointed in me. She had an abortion and then filed for divorce. I believe she made the right decision. Anyone who is currently outraged and attacking her online would have done the same. This is entirely my fault, so please stop criticizing her. Lastly, I want to say that Jessica was a person before she became a model. What she did does not make her unprofessional or unworthy of being a model. Please view this situation rationally. Ryan's statement shocked not only the public but also me. I had always known that Ryan was someone who cared deeply about his reputation. That's why I didn't mention his infidelity in the divorce agreement, out of respect for the good times we had. I never revealed anything publicly, but I never expected him to expose this to the public just to clear my name. The public's opinion shifted quickly. Some internet users dug up Elena's account, and her comment section was quickly flooded with backlash. At the same time, my company issued a clarification statement and filed a lawsuit against Elena. After everything had settled down, I sent Ryan a message. "Thank you." He replied quickly. "It was the least I could do. And I'm sorry." Chapter 10. After that drama, my popularity actually increased, and several high-end brands specifically chose me as their spokesperson. My career soared, and through it, I found the meaning of life. With the money I earned through my hard work, I improved my quality of life and donated a large portion to women's organizations and children in rural areas. I wanted every woman suffering from domestic violence to know that only they can save themselves. They should never rely on a man. At the same time, I hoped that children in rural areas could break free from the mountains and not spend their entire lives there. Just like how I once lived at the bottom of a well, never seeing the sky. Having been through the rain, I wanted to hold an umbrella for others. Time flew by, and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 years, I visited the prison once a year. I kept my word from back then. I truly got better year after year. Seeing my biological father grow more and more haggard and miserable in prison with each passing year brought me a sweet satisfaction. He could only try to provoke me by bringing up Ryan again and again. But who cared? I had long since left Ryan behind. Until one day, I saw the news. GU Corporation had a change in leadership. Ryan had been in a car accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down, requiring lifelong hospitalization to maintain his physical functions. That day, I had just returned from vacation abroad. I went to see Ryan. He lay in his hospital bed, looking weak, his brows furrowed with a sense of life's weariness and regret. When he saw me, his dim eyes suddenly lit up. "Jesse, don't come in just yet." Because he was so excited, he lost control of his bowels, and a foul smell filled the air. He hurriedly called for the nurse to change his clothes, but they were negligent because he was just an overthrown CEO and they were reluctant to help him. I walked over and personally helped him tidy everything up. When I looked at him again, Ryan's face was red as if it was about to drip blood. He was embarrassed and ashamed. "I'm sorry to have you help me, Jesse." I shook my head and reached out to peel an apple for him. "Are you doing well?" He was taken aback, looking at his paralyzed legs, then back at me, forcing a smile. "I'm fine." His expression carried a hint of hope. I knew what he was thinking, but I didn't ask. I just nodded and continued. "That's good. I'm doing well too. I never thought my life could be so expansive." "Thank you, Ryan." He didn't understand what I was thanking him for, but he nodded anyway. "Do you still hate me?" Seeing his cautious expression, I finished peeling the last piece of the apple, placed it on the table, and calmly looked at him. "I don't hate you. To me, you're just a familiar stranger. I hope you do well." With that, I stopped looking at him, turned around, and was about to leave when I heard him behind me, his voice filled with reluctance and panic. "You still care about me, right, Jesse? Otherwise, why would you hope I do well? You still care, don't you?" I paused at the door, not turning back, and replied in a calm voice, "I hope everyone does well, not just you." There was silence behind me as I walked out of the hospital room. I walked faster and faster, heading straight towards my own light. Chapter 11 Epilogue. Actually, when I bet with my friends that I could win Jessica over, I was confident of victory, but I didn't expect her to be so hard to get. So, I had no choice but to focus on studying to catch her attention. Eventually, I really fell for her, especially after seeing what happened with her parents. I felt even more protective of her and vowed to treat her well for the rest of my life. But I broke that promise. In college, my friends made fun of me for having such a poor girlfriend. They belittled Jessica, and I didn't defend her. Gradually, I began to think I deserved better. I let Jessica chase after me for 4 years. Finally, when we graduated, I was tired. Jessica was my best option. At least she was truly devoted to me, beautiful, and obedient. We got married without even dating. But after marriage, I found her boring. Elena, on the other hand, was seductive and full of excitement. So I started an affair with her. And I wasn't wrong. Jessica found out about Elena and me, and she just accepted it. The night Jessica's mom died, I was actually planning to pick her up. But just as I grabbed my car keys to leave the office, Elena twisted her ankle behind me. She cried until her eyes were red. But she still bit her lip and told me to go find Jessica, saying she would be fine. Such a considerate girl really tugged at my heart. I thought it over, figuring Jessica was probably just exaggerating or trying to get my attention. But Elena genuinely hurt her ankle. So, I took her to the hospital and stayed with her all night. But unexpectedly, Jessica wanted a divorce because of that. At first, I thought she was just throwing a tantrum, and I found it amusing. She hadn't shown any temper in 3 years of marriage. I patiently tried to appease her for a few days, but I didn't expect her to be so unreasonable. No matter, I thought, let her throw her tantrum. Once she's done, she'll come back to me. When I saw her again, it was because Elena insisted I accompany her to a fashion show, and I saw Jessica there. Leaving me didn't make her miserable like I thought it would. Instead, she was vibrant, free, and radiant. She was different from the Jessica I remembered. For the first time, I realized my mistake, but it was too late to fix anything. We divorced, and I completely cut ties with Elena. I never expected that Elena would want to ruin Jessica's reputation. And Jessica no longer trusts me like she used to. She actually thought it was me. Loving someone at the highest level means unconditional trust. So, no matter what happened between Elena and me in the past, as long as I told Jessica there was nothing between us, she would believe me. I used to think it was because she couldn't let go of me, but in reality, she trusted me unconditionally, choosing to believe in me even if it meant deceiving herself, because she loved me. But now, I'm the first person she doubts. She doesn't love me anymore. After I released the statement, Jessica thanked me. "You're welcome," or perhaps, "I'm sorry. I couldn't fulfill the promises I made to you, and I've hurt you time and time again. Jessica, I'm sorry. I hope you live a better life from now on."